Here are the 10 ineffective information security measures that companies still use anyway. That's what this video is about. As an information security consultant, I often get insights into the existing information security measures of companies. Some of them don't really make sense or are only slightly effective. Today, I have 10 examples of this. Number 1, outdated password policies. That a password should consist of 8, 10, 12, or 14 characters is probably well known by now. But it's often still said, yes, you have to change your password every 90 days, for example, or there are no complexity requirements like upper and lower case or something like that. If I mandate this password changing, in practice, it often leads to employees starting to number these passwords sequentially. They simply start at the beginning of their career in the company, let's say, by adding a number like 1, 2, or 5 to the password. When they change the password, it's then likely the next number, 6, then 7, then 8. And it doesn't really make sense because once you have the password, you can easily guess what it will be later on. It's better here to rely on multi-factor authentication. That means at regular intervals asking not just for the password, but also for a second factor, like a confirmation code, for example, that you have to type in. And in practice, you could then do away with this password changing. The second misconception, the antivirus will protect me. Unfortunately, that's not always true, or rather it's true in very few cases. An antivirus is just one protection, one protective measure among many, especially since most systems today are no longer run on local computers or on any company-owned servers. I have more and more cloud applications in the company, and for that I might only need to find out a username password combination, for example, through phishing. And I can then access the company data stored in this service. That means an antivirus is unfortunately not enough there. What's needed is a holistic ISMS. Third misconception, just turning on the firewall is enough. You often hear that in connection with data centers. If I have my own server room on site on my company premises, so to speak, within my own four walls, let's say, if I operate my own servers, I have a firewall in front of the server network. That is certainly useful and appropriate, but here too it must be said that it doesn't protect on its own. That means, again here, looking at which data is really only in the data center and which might also be on cloud applications, where I then basically don't have a firewall or might have to buy one separately, depending on which service I use and what is offered. Fourth point, security is seen as a project. Often it's the case that external parties or customers have the requirement. I have to carry out a security certification as a company in the area of TISAX, in the area of ISO 27001, wherever. Then a project is basically set up for it. You fulfill all the requirements, and in the end, it's assumed, okay, now you're done and now we don't need it anymore, or something like that. That's not the case. This means that information security also has a constant component, especially through the role of the information security officer. This person must be the first point of contact, for example, if there are security incidents. I have to see whether these measures continue to be observed in everyday professional life, in everyday company life. If there are new systems, I have to adapt them accordingly, the processes. This means there are a variety of tasks that also contribute to the upkeep, to the maintenance of this ISMS certification. Fifth, small companies often think they are not the target. We are too small to be attacked, is often said. Unfortunately, that's not true either. So in recent years, small companies in particular have been increasingly attacked because large companies often have a larger budget for security measures and are often better protected. But small companies, for example, especially new small software as a service providers, may not yet have such sophisticated security measures, are still relatively young companies, and don't have mature processes yet. It's not a bad thing at all, but in practice, it's often the case that attackers specialize in such companies because they think it might even be easier to get data there, and also data from other companies, possibly larger companies, that is stored there. As a sixth point, new tools are purchased that promise a lot, but then no responsibility is defined. This means that if I have a new tool that might replace an older, no longer security compliant tool, be it in customer data processing, in order data processing, or something like that, then I also have to look accordingly at who really feels professionally responsible for it and can possibly also make settings in this service. Often there is also software as a service that has different levels of use. So what range of functions do I have? For example, there's always a point with single sign-on. This means I only have to log in once and then have access to all systems. It's often a premium feature that I have to pay extra for, but I just have to see, okay, does it make sense professionally? Does it make sense from the security strategy? Do I want to pay for this extra effort in order to have a higher level of information security? These are all decisions that I also have to make beforehand. And exactly, just procuring the tool alone is often not enough. Seventh, the dependence on the IT department. In today's information security, IT, that is information security, is no longer limited to IT. That means people often think, oh, the department that deals with computers will take care of everything. Whether it's servers, laptops, office computers, whatever, that's just not the case anymore, not for a long time. So for example, suppliers also play a very important role. The HR department plays a role through training, through personnel selection, through awareness campaigns, for example, phishing emails, phishing tests. I can do things like that. Those are the main points of entry. And it's not always necessarily the IT department that plays a role in this. Especially when I have specialized software, for example, let's say a procurement tool in purchasing or an approval tool in a compliance area, in a legal area, something like that, then the IT department isn't necessarily the right contact because technically they don't know exactly what this software can do, what this software should technically be able to do in that area to really help the employees. And often it's then a combination of responsibilities which must also be adhered to and tracked accordingly. That means, how can you get the best and safest results out of these external tools? Eighth misconception, we do an awareness training once a year. That's enough. That's good. It's a start. But that continuity is exactly what's important there. That means that employees are trained on a regular basis. For example, if you've just had an increase in phishing emails, you might send out a message to all employees. Attention, there might be a campaign running against us right now, a phishing campaign, so be especially careful here. Ninth, backups without recovery. That means if I have backups, they should also be tested accordingly. Meaning, do they work when I'm in an emergency and say, yes, I have backups, but only then realize they don't work? Then I have no benefit from those backups. So it's always better to check backups beforehand. And as a 10th point, it's often assumed that if you meet a certain compliance with a security standard, you then also have a certain level of security. And you basically only perform the security to reach this compliance standard. That's also a misconception. That means as a company, you should already have the goal of implementing information security because you want to be secure and not just because you want to have some special certificate. That means you have to really live and implement what is required behind the certification in order to really have sustainable success with it. Otherwise, if I only work towards a certification, it's an extra effort that doesn't really have any added value in the end. So always see it as a whole project. Those were 10 examples of ineffective security measures. If you liked the video, feel free to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. You can find more exciting posts on our blog and feel free to follow us on LinkedIn as well.